There, guys. This is gonna be like a random video. Just wanted to talk about a few things. First of all, I have this new servo mount that I've been using on my Venom buggy. It's a servo mount that I designed. This is like the first variation. What I do is I actually cut some notches through it. So instead of having a plate over everything on the servo mount, I actually cut some notches because what that does is it actually allows me to bring the servo mount even lower, so that servo is actually at the same height as the differential cover instead of a mount being on top of it. So this servo mount is actually the lowest servo mount you can get, like the lowest center of gravity as of right now. I'm sure somebody's gonna make their mount with the same design now that you're seeing this video, but I guess I'll throw this out there so I'd be the first one doing it. Maybe, I don't know, somebody else might have done it, but I haven't seen it, so I may be wrong. I don't know, but anyways, it's what I've been using, and what it does, it moves the servo way back so that the servo horn, even with these bigger differential covers, the servo horn is like super duper close. So as you can see, I have that mount there. Yeah, I have that long nail still. I use it. It helps me pick up the little washers and bolts and stuff. I'm not a coke head or nothing like that. Anyways, see right there, it still clears it. It's very close, but I wanted it that way. I wanted it to be as close as humanly possible. And also it's set up so that you can have the 4-link. So you can set up the 4-link, the top 4 links instead of having the tri-link or the Y-link, whatever you want to call it. And it brings everything as far down as possible and as far back as possible, so you don't have anything interfering with the front of the vehicle when you're trying to climb over your obstacles. So as you can see, everything is as close as you can possibly get it in there. Obviously this is for the aftermarket servos. Should fit most of it, Reeves and all those other ones. They're all about the same size, standard micro size. This is just a Corona. I like these because they're super cheap. I've never had one of these fail on me, but I did order some better ones just because I'm showing these builds, and every time I get somebody say, why are you using that $6 servo? Well, because it works. Anyway, it's really strong and it's super cheap, and I have a whole bunch of them and they just work. Anyways, this is a standard size that is pretty much all the aftermarket, the high-tech and all those servos. They're about the same size. So this servo mount should fit most of those aftermarket servos. And it's not taller than what the servo is, as you can see. I even cut a little bit off the ear on this servo for when I was using it with the Fat Girl, I think. But as you can see, it's about that height right there. So it's a little bit lower than what the servo is. So it's not gonna mess with your articulation and hit your body and all that kind of stuff. That's that on that servo. So yeah, I made some changes to this design. As you can see here, I had a little bit of dry shaft contact there. So on the new servo mount, you can't see it here. This is a dark print, but I made a hole on that section right there, so there's no contact with the dry shaft. Also, if you do go with this, obviously you want to make sure that your axles, once you make those links, that your axles are nice and flat, so that you don't limit yourself and have some contact, because obviously by bringing the servo back there and so low, you could have some dry shaft contact if your axle is not lined up properly. I guess if you have it tilted forward, it's not going to be an issue, but if you have it tilted back, it may be an issue, with the dry shaft. And I know people are going to say, well, what about, when you fully extend it? Well, when you're fully extended, you should be okay as well. Like this one is fine, fully extended as it is, and there's no contact. And this one can go really low as well, for those belly draggers that are out there. So this build, if I were to take the springs out, you know, it could go really, really, really low, as you can see. But with the springs, it could also go really high. Anyways, that's that servo. The other thing I wanted to talk about, let me see, this guy. That's the surpass motor, the 2204. That motor, I've been getting some complaints by some people, and I just couldn't get around why. But I just figured it out. I've been hunting for some more frame rails, and one of the guys sent me their frame rails so that I could kind of tinker with them, because these are deadbolt frame rails. But for some reason, because these are stamped, for some reason, sometimes the holes, they may be slightly forward, slightly back, and they have some contact with the surpass motor on the side, so you'll see that. The fix for that, you just have to file that section right there on top of the hole. Just file it a tiny little bit, and you're good. The motor is not gonna rub the frame. Now that only happens when you have the motor sitting in the forward position with the low center of gravity mount. If you have the regular centered mount, so here's the difference. This is what the low center of gravity mount looks like. It's completely overbuilt. It has 3 holes to mount the motor. Because this is a pretty strong motor. It's about 160 watts at 3S, I believe. So I figured, you know, I want to build something that's going to be ridiculously strong. So that's why I have the 3 mount holes, so that you could actually use 3 of the mounting holes on this. But, you know, once it was printed, I realized that 2 holes is perfectly fine. But if you want to put a third hole, I mean bolt, that's what that line is for right there. This is like the most overbuilt mount that I have. And then you have the center mounted, which is the older variation of what the revolver 380 motor was. Then what that does, it makes the motor sit, you know, centered. So this one does not have any issues with clearance on any side, but the motor sits a few millimeter higher. So if you're looking for the lowest center of gravity, obviously you go with this one, hence the name, low center of gravity one. But keep in mind that some of you guys, you know, will run into this issue. And like I said, it's not if you have the motor facing backwards. When the motor's facing backwards, you have like 4 or 5 millimeters of clearance. And for some reason, it's just in the forward position in some of the frame rails, you have to kind of shave off that little tiny piece right there. So just keep that in mind. It's not a huge deal, but I didn't have the issue with my frame rails. I had to wait for somebody to actually send me their frame rails so that I could see what the issue was. And yes, in fact, the motor will not clear facing that, you know, that position. So another thing you can do, well, actually don't, because it shouldn't be an issue with the other ones, but you know, you could do like I do with the boogies and do the long links in the front and the short ones in the back, and then the motor will still be facing forward. But honestly, you don't have to do that. There's no need for that unless you're going with the boogies, and then you don't need the frame rails for the boogies. Anyways, that takes care of that issue. Like I said, you just file it down a little bit. I just use one of these cheap files. You know, they have that kind of like half moon look to them, and that just fit, you know, nicely in there, and just boom, taken care of. I know it's another step for some of you guys, but if you're really trying to get the best performance out of this motor, that will be what you want. You want the low center of gravity plate, and because this is one of the heavier motors that we are putting on these, you want to keep it as low as possible. And when you do, performance obviously is better. And what's the other thing? Okay, I had this guy. Wait, where did I throw it? Okay, so this right here, oh, I got the bolts in there. Anyways, this is the adapter that I made for the Panda Hobbies Tetra. This adapter would go where this skid plate goes on the transmission, on the SCX24 transmission. So you take this skid plate off. If you have it on, you shouldn't, because you just got the transmission, and then you just bolt this one onto it, which should go, where's the hole on this one? Oh, I can't see it from here. You got the bolt right there, so it goes like that. Okay, so that will go boom right there, you know, without the skid, and then this will go inside the skid plate for the Panda, and you just hold it from the bottom like you usually hold the transmission on the Panda, and then you have, you know, the Panda has a SCX24 transmission when you do that, and then obviously you can use any motors that we use with those, and that's taken care of. The other thing, right now I don't have buggies that are specifically designed to have that surpass motor go in the front, other than the Showtime. Yeah, okay. So Showtime was specifically designed, well, redesigned to be able to fit this in the forward position. The other ones, they will interfere with the windshield or the engine bay. So I'm taking a look at them. I'm not sure that I'll be able to do it with every one of them, because I don't want to mess up the actual look of the vehicle. So if I were to move this hood forward and higher to be able to fit the motor, it really wouldn't be all that great. You know, it wouldn't look the same, it wouldn't act the same. But I'll do my best to try to make it to where they'll fit, and take care of that. This guy right here, I will be using the Panda axles on this one, I believe. I'm gonna try those. The reason I'm doing that is because I was gonna use the Barrage axles, but it really makes no sense, because the Barrage axles, they're kind of hard to get a hold of right now. And you know, you could buy a Barrage and, you know, be like, okay, boom, got the axles, but the Panda axles are really cheap, and if you just wanted to get those, it would be a lot cheaper to go that route. And because they're a 1/18 scale, and they were built with that 180 brush motor in mind, they're pretty stout, you know, they're pretty strong. So I think they'll be able to handle the abuse much better than what the Barrage axles would. I have not corroborated that yet, but I will. And I think those will work better for this kind of build. I am gonna obviously have to make some kind of adapter, because as you all know, the Panda has the motor up on the chassis. So I'll have to make an adapter to where it'll go on the axle itself. Obviously I could make it to where it goes on the chassis on this one, but then you have to deal with a whole bunch of other issues with the panhandle and all kinds of stuff to try to get it to, you know, actually stay true when you're moving around and stuff. So I don't want to deal with all of that, because it just overcomplicates everything. So, you know, I'll try to just make it as simple as possible and try to make an adapter for the servo on the axle to get this running. I pretty much maxed out what my motors can do on the stock axles. It is pretty quick for what it is, but I want more speed, and those axles are obviously going to be much better. Now, the positive thing is that I did not break any gears while using the stock axles on this configuration, and I was pretty amazed by that. I was running that 6100 kV motor at 3S, and it didn't break anything. No damage to the worm gears or anything, so pretty impressed with that. So that's that. And what else? Oh, these, I just had these there because I like them. They're cool. These are those what is it, HSP tires that I've used for like many years when I made those really big wheels and put some weights in it and all that stuff. Thinking about using them again, so I may make some wheels for this. They just look cool. I like them. They don't perform great, but there is some instances where they do, and they look really cool. So yeah, I have them there. Anyways, that was just kind of like a quick, 1, 2, 3, this is what I'm doing kind of thing. And hope it helped answer some of your guys' questions. Thanks for watching, and we'll try to make some cool videos for you guys. Again, thanks for watching.